Long before New York, before Washington, before the first Europeans set foot on this continent, there was a city, bigger than London, more powerful than Paris, and then without a word, without a trace, it vanished. This is the mystery of Cahokia. In the heart of North America, in what is now the quiet farmland of southern Illinois, lie the remnants of a city that once rivaled London, Paris, and other great centers of the medieval world. It was a place of towering mounds, vast ceremonial plazas, bustling neighborhoods, and a population larger than any city in the United States until Philadelphia in the late 1700s. And yet, few outside the world of archaeology even know its name. This was Cahokia, a city born 1,000 years ago, thriving for just a few centuries and then vanishing. Its people left no written records, no surviving descendants who call themselves by its name, no clear explanation for why a metropolis of tens of thousands crumbled into silence. What remains are grassy mounds, scattered artifacts, and haunting questions. Today, we step into the mystery of Cahokia, how it rose, how it flourished, and why it disappeared. Picture the Mississippi River around the year 1000. Wide, winding, and unpredictable, it carved through fertile floodplains. Dense forests lined its banks. Herds of deer and bison moved through the tall grass prairies. Fish and mussels filled the streams. For human beings, this was a land of abundance. It was here that small farming villages began to cluster together, drawn by the river's gifts. They grew maize corn, brought north centuries earlier from Mexico, alongside squash, beans, and native plants. Over time, agriculture became so productive that people could settle in one place year-round. Populations expanded, leaders emerged, villages grew into towns, and then one of those towns grew into something greater. Around 1050, Cahokia erupted into existence almost overnight. Archaeologists call this the Big Bang. Within a generation, it transformed from a modest settlement into the largest city north of Mexico. Imagine it. Over 6 square miles of urban landscape, home to somewhere between 20,000 and 40,000 people at its peak. That would make it larger than London in the same era, and the greatest city in North America until New York centuries later. At the heart of Cahokia rose Monks Mound, a staggering earthwork over 100 feet tall and covering more than 14 acres at its base. It remains the largest man-made mound in the Americas. From its flat top, a wooden temple or ruler's residence looked out across the city. Surrounding it were smaller mounds, plazas, neighborhoods of thatched homes, and causeways connecting districts. To the east stood Woodhenges, great circles of wooden posts that tracked the movement of the sun, monuments to both astronomy and spirituality. Cahokia was not just a city, it was a capital, a sacred center, and the beating heart of a vast cultural network. So what was life like in Cahokia? For most, it meant living in small rectangular houses of wood and thatch, arranged in neighborhoods around courtyards. Families farmed maize and squash, but also hunted deer and gathered nuts. The community shared food and feasts, which strengthened bonds and reinforced social hierarchies. Above them stood a ruling elite chiefs and priests who claimed divine power. They controlled trade, organized labor for massive mound construction, and presided over religious ceremonies. The sheer scale of Cahokia's earthworks is breathtaking. Millions of baskets of soil were carried by hand to build the mounds. Each basket weighed about 50 pounds. To construct Monks Mound alone may have taken 15 million baskets. That's more labor than some of Egypt's pyramids. Cahokia was also a place of spectacle. Archaeological digs reveal evidence of ritual sacrifice. In one mound, researchers uncovered the remains of more than 50 young women, buried in rows, possibly as offerings to the gods or to honor a powerful leader. Nearby, 4 men were found without hands or heads, grisly signs of execution. Yet Cahokia was not only a place of death, but also of life and celebration. Ceremonial plazas hosted feasts and games. The most famous was Chunky, where players rolled stone discs across the ground and spears, were thrown to land as close as possible. It was both entertainment and political theater, binding communities together. Trade flowed in and out of the city. copper from the Great Lakes, obsidian from the Rocky Mountains, shells from the Gulf Coast, mica from the Appalachians. Cahokia was a hub in a continent-wide network, connecting cultures from far-flung regions. But what truly made Cahokia unique was its scale, complexity, and centralization. While other Native American societies lived in smaller villages or loose confederations, Cahokia built something closer to a state. It was a city that demanded loyalty, obedience, and labor, and that made it fragile. By the year 1200, Cahokia began to change. Signs of strain appear in the archaeological record. The forests around the city were stripped bare for firewood and construction. Soil was eroded by constant farming. Floods and droughts alternated, battering crops. The once healthy environment was stretched beyond its limits. Meanwhile, social tensions rose. Mass graves hint at violent conflict. Defensive palisades were built around key districts, suggesting fear of attack. Some researchers believe internal rebellion broke out, perhaps. Commoners rose against the elites who demanded sacrifices and endless labor. By 1350, Cahokia was in rapid decline. Neighborhoods were abandoned. Trade networks collapsed. The great plazas fell silent. Monks Mound stood lonely above empty fields. By the time Europeans arrived in the Mississippi Valley, in the 1500s, Cahokia was already a memory. But why? The mystery of Cahokia's fall has haunted archaeologists for centuries. There is no single answer, only theories. One theory points to environmental collapse. Pollen records show massive deforestation. Sediment layers reveal floods alternating with droughts. The land that once fed tens of thousands simply couldn't sustain them anymore. Another theory is warfare and social unrest. Some evidence suggests Cahokia's people turned on each other. Palisades and fortifications hint at battles. The graves of executed men suggest power struggles. Was Cahokia destroyed from within? A third theory is disease. Though Europeans had not yet reached Cahokia, epidemics may have traveled through trade networks, weakening the population before the city could recover from famine or conflict. Still others suggest a spiritual crisis. If the rulers claim divine power, natural disasters or repeated crop failures may have shattered faith in their leadership. Without belief, the entire social order could collapse. And then there are the fringe theories. Some claim Cahokia was connected to ancient Mesoamerican empires like the Maya or Aztec, though little evidence supports this. Others spin tales of curses, lost knowledge, even extraterrestrial influence. But the truth is more human and more haunting. Cahokia fell because it grew too big, too fast. It consumed the land, demanded too much labor, and could not withstand the pressures of nature and society. For centuries after its fall, the ruins of Cahokia were silent. Native tribes remembered the mounds in their oral traditions. But European settlers often dismissed them, believing wrongly that they were built by a lost race. Some claimed the mounds were the work of Vikings, Phoenicians, or even the survivors of Atlantis. It wasn't until the 19th and 20th centuries that archaeologists began to uncover the truth. Cahokia was built by Native Americans, whose achievements rivaled the great civilizations of the world. Today, Cahokia Mound State Historic Site preserves what remains. Visitors can still climb Monks Mound and look out across the land where tens of thousands once lived. They can stand inside a reconstructed Woodhenge, watching the sun rise as the Cahokians once did. But the mystery remains. How could such a great city disappear so completely? Why did its people leave no written word, no enduring mark of their identity? Perhaps that is Cahokia's greatest legacy, a reminder of how fragile civilization can be. Even the mightiest cities can vanish, swallowed by time, leaving only earth and silence. And so the mounds of Cahokia stand as both monuments and warnings. Monuments to the ingenuity, labor, and spirit of a people who built a city larger than London, and warnings of how quickly it can all disappear. If you found this story fascinating, there are more mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The lost colony of Roanoke, the haunting legends of the Wendigo, the tragic march of the Trail of Tears. Hit subscribe, share this video with someone who loves history, and join us as we uncover the forgotten stories of America's past. Because history isn't just about what we remember. It's also about what we've lost.